You've been told that if you follow the law, trust your government, and save responsibly, your wealth will be secure. But what if that promise is a lie? What if the very system designed to protect you is quietly engineered to seize your savings without you even realizing it? Today, we'll break down how in 1933, the U.S. government pulled off one of the biggest legal heists in history, making it illegal for citizens to own gold and effectively confiscating the nation's wealth overnight. But before we start, if you enjoy videos that expose the hidden mechanics of money and power, make sure you subscribe because we have a lot to uncover together. And tell me in the comments, which country are you watching from and what time of day is it where you are right now? I'm curious to see how far this conversation reaches. Let's start with a question. Why is it that we trust our governments to protect our property and wealth, when history shows they can change the rules at a moment's notice to serve their own interests? The answer isn't about patriotism or trust. It's about a little-known executive order that turned millions of law-abiding Americans into potential criminals for simply owning a precious metal. This is the story of the Great American Gold Heist. To understand how this happened, we need to rewind to the early 1930s. The Great Depression was in full swing, crippling the U.S. economy. Banks were failing by the thousands, unemployment was skyrocketing, and fear gripped the nation. In this climate of panic, people did what they have always done in times of crisis. They sought safety in real, tangible assets. They began pulling their money out of the fragile banking system and converting it into gold, which was seen as the only true store of value. This created a massive problem for the Federal Reserve, as it was legally required to back every dollar in circulation with a certain amount of gold. With citizens hoarding gold, the government was running out of the very metal it needed to print more money and stimulate the economy. Faced with this crisis, the newly inaugurated President Franklin D. Roosevelt took a drastic and unprecedented step. On April 5, 1933, he signed Executive Order 6102. This order didn't just ask people to stop hoarding gold. It forced every American citizen to surrender nearly all of their gold to the U.S. government. Under the authority of the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, an act designed for wartime, Roosevelt declared a national emergency and made the private ownership of gold coins, gold bullion, and gold certificates a federal crime. The government was, in effect, treating its own citizens like enemies of the state for possessing a particular asset. The order was swift and uncompromising. Americans were given just a few weeks until May 1, 1933, to deliver all but a small amount of their gold to the nearest Federal Reserve Bank or a designated agent. In exchange, they were paid the official price at the time, $20.67 per troy ounce. People who defied the order faced severe penalties, including a fine of up to $10,000, a fortune at the time, equivalent to over $200,000 today, or up to 10 years in prison, or both. Imagine the fear and confusion. The very asset you held for security suddenly became a ticket to a federal penitentiary. The government used propaganda to frame this as a patriotic duty, urging citizens to turn in their slacker gold to help the country recover. But what came next revealed the true intention behind the order. Once the government had successfully collected the bulk of the nation's private gold, the trap was sprung. The public had been forced to exchange their tangible wealth for paper dollars at a fixed rate. Then, in January 1934, Roosevelt signed the Gold Reserve Act. This act officially devalued the U.S. dollar by raising the price of gold from $20.67 to $35 per ounce. In an instant, the dollar lost nearly 41% of its value relative to gold. For the government, this was a massive windfall. The gold it had just bought from its citizens for $20.67 an ounce was now officially worth $35 an ounce on its books, creating billions of dollars in profit out of thin air. This allowed the Treasury to print more paper money, funding New Deal programs and attempting to inflate the economy out of the Depression. But for the American people, it was a devastating act of confiscation. If you liked the video, make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for next video.